Let's bring in our panel right now. Joining us now, Chair of the Foreign Policy Initiative, Carla Sands. Also with us, Gordon Chang, the author of the best-selling book, Plan Red, China's Project to Destroy America. He's been warning us about China's growing alliance with both Iran and Russia. So, Carla, I want to start off with you first. As we are looking at the amount of people that have come out to greet the President of the United States, and there you see Xi Jinping shaking hands with the President's son and now also going to shake hands with his wife. What goes through your mind as you're witnessing this historic summit here, this visit here?
You know, I would have said if I were counseling the president, don't go, make him come to you, because I've watched these weak European leaders go and kowtow, smile and grip his hand, and it's been such a turnoff. But my heart just beat faster as I saw President Trump's, the beast drive up, and I felt so much pride for our country and anticipation of good things that can come from this meeting. Of course, President Trump will have to hold the Chinese accountable because so far they haven't ever honored any of their trade deals with us or their agreements. But I do feel anticipation and excitement.
Mm-hmm. Gordon, let me ask you, you wrote an editorial today. You argue that Trump holds the cards against Xi Jinping at the China summit and that President Trump enters these talks with multiple points of leverage to press China. So I want to ask you, what do you think is the most important point of leverage that he has? And maybe just get your thoughts on what you're seeing emotionally with all the smiles, knowing what you've talked about as far as what a threat communist China is to America.
Well, Bill, the most important point of leverage is access to the American market. Because Xi Jinping does not believe in consumption as the basis of the Chinese economy, his only hope for growth is to export. Now, Americans account for something like 31, 32, 33% of global consumption, which means that Xi Jinping absolutely needs the American market. And if he shuts that off, and although he can't use the tariffs, as we learned from the Supreme Court decision, learning resources in February, there are a lot of other ways that Trump can shut off America to Chinese products. So I'm sure Xi Jinping knows that. The one thing about Xi Jinping, though, that concerns me, he should know that his country is failing in many ways, not just a stumbling economy, but collapsing demography, very unhappy people. But he very well may be isolated from that. I think the people who work for him know how bad things are, but Xi Jinping doesn't, which makes him pretty arrogant right now and gives him a little bit of a home court advantage. So President Trump's going to have to do something to disabuse Xi Jinping of his views that China's going to dominate the world and that the United States is a finished power.
And Carla, as we were talking, I literally heard the Star-Spangled Banner being played there in Beijing, Tiananmen Square. I said, wait, are we really hearing this, right? And they're literally rolling out this massive red carpet for the President of the United States. You have the school children there ready to sing. Talk to me about this welcome that Trump is receiving at this point, because you don't normally see this. I know Barack Obama did not get this kind of welcome.
No, he did not. This is like the two titans of the globe meeting today. It is so exciting. I mean, I'm almost breathless. But let's not forget the Chinese war equipment that they sold to Venezuela, that they sold to Iran, it failed. China is not as strong as it's trying to pose as. We can see that there's so much corruption in communism because everyone covers their own you-know-what, and they don't actually tell the truth, because they have to save the face of the communism and be part of the party. So they don't admit when their science is failing, when their arms are failing. And so it's rotting from within. And yes, we want trade with China, but I see those tech tycoons over there. They want more business. I want them to build their factories in the United States. I want American jobs. And I think that the American people, they understand the bad taste that these cheap Chinese goods have left in their mouth, because China is in an asymmetrical war with us, trying to smuggle in, poison to ruin our soil, to kill our crops, to stealing more theft our technology and our excellent research than all the other countries combined. I mean, it's hundreds of billions every year.
Gordon, let me ask you, about a year ago, maybe it was 2 years ago, you and I had a conversation. You said something I thought was really important and brilliant. I quoted you the other day, actually on Newsmax, on a show last week, that you said one of the big advantages that we have and that President Trump has is that he's unpredictable. And that means the Chinese communists aren't really sure exactly how he's going to play this. So my question to you is, how does that play in this unpredictability, number one? Maybe that's why they rolled the red carpet out the way they are. And what do you see as the number one objective that Americans should look at and say, this was a win?
Can we listen in real quick before he answers? I want to
sure.
hear these kids and...
A lot of excitement.
There is so much excitement
And
here.
you're right. You didn't see this when Barack Obama was in Beijing.
Gordon,
Go
I'm
ahead,
sorry,
Gordon.
you can go
So,
ahead. I'm kind of, this is really an incredible sight to see 10 o'clock in the morning there, China time.
We're watching it in real time, the excitement. But let's go to that point that Donald Trump is unpredictable. What would you say if you're advising him, or maybe better as we're coming up on the midterms, advising Republicans or Americans? What do we look for as a win with this trip?
Yeah, there are a number of things that I think are important. From President Trump's point of view, he mentioned trade as being his primary focus. And if that's the case, then what you want to see is a continuation of the trade truce that they negotiated last October, because that helps President Trump recover the economy. Now, the economy is doing pretty well, but clearly, if you were able to stabilize the relationship, I think you'd see more confidence, not only on Main Street, but on Wall Street as well. There are other things, of course, that are important. I hope that China does not convince President Trump to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. That closing the strait has put a lot of pressure on Iran and also pressure on China, and that's important. Another win that I'd like to see is Xi Jinping agreed to release Jimmy Lai, a Hong Kong dissident. Jimmy is a hero of freedom. We need to rescue him from the clutches of Hong Kong, which is working on behest of China. So that is something that is symbolically important. And remember, human rights is considered to be critical from the Chinese point of view. Americans don't think very much about it.
Right.
But from the Chinese point of view, they put their best diplomats on their human rights desks because they know how important it is for them.
So, Gordon, just real quick on that. I mean, we're looking at all the pomp and circumstances. The kids are the circumstance, and the kids are yelling and singing, and we hear the national anthem. How hard is it for a dissident or somebody related to one of those killed in Tiananmen Square? I mean, against the backdrop of so many human rights abuses, is this just painting over this with rose-colored glasses, maybe? I mean, does it hurt the people who have really been impacted by the Chinese communists? I think about the Uyghur Muslims. I think about Christian groups. I think about anybody that's been persecuted for their political beliefs. And how do you reconcile the smiles and the songs and the handshakes and the president calling him a friend with what China has been doing for so many years?
Yeah, whenever any foreign leader goes to China, there's always the risk of legitimization. And that's what the Communist Party is going to do after this meeting is over, because these images are being blasted to the Chinese people, and they will be for a long time. And they'll be saying that the president of the United States came to pay homage to Xi Jinping. Now, that's not what Trump thinks. That's not what Trump did, but that's the way the Communist Party is going to spin it. So this issue of the legitimization of the party is going to be, I think, one thing that's going to be hard for us to deal with.
Carla, we have 30 seconds to you. I just want to ask you, what do you think about this type of welcome? That what does that tell you? How they feel? How does Xi Jinping feel about President Trump?
Well, I think that he wants a good deal, and he's showing him honor to try to get that deal. I hope we get the rare earth elements that we need and that we actually do receive them. And I agree that we need to keep the pressure on Iran, but China, if pressed, I think can end the Ukraine war by ending the funding and support of Russia in this war, because
point.
Russia now kind of works for Chairman Xi. So I think that this is an opportunity to end that war.
Okay, Carla Sands, Gordon Chang, thank you both very much.